Hi everyone. Today we're going to factor third degree polynomials, and we are ready to do it with no hints at all. So basically the first time we factored third degree polynomials, I gave you two of the factors and just asked you to find the third one. And you did synthetic division twice to do that. And then the second time we did it, I gave you one of the factors, and we did synthetic division once, and then we did the other type of factoring with the quadratic that was left over. Well, we've done a couple things since then, and we're now ready to factor a third degree polynomial if I don't give you any hints at all, if I just give you the polynomial. So basically, over these past few lessons, we've learned everything you need to know to do that. All we have to do today is put it all together. So this is one of those lessons, we're not really learning something new today, we're taking all the different things we've learned over the past week or so and putting it together. So here are our steps for factoring a third degree polynomial. Step one, and we just learned this 2 lessons ago, you guys are going to use the rational zero test to make a list of numbers that might work using synthetic division. Possible solutions, we call them. Then step 2 is what we just did in the last lesson. You're going to go through, you're going to take that list, you're going to start testing numbers until you find one that works. Now that's what's different. In the last lesson, I had you test a whole bunch of them, and I had to find like 2 or 3 that worked. Starting today, you only need to find one. So you find that one that works, and we're going to turn it into a factor by just changing the sign and putting it with an x in parentheses. Then we're going to finish the question like we did last week, where once you go from x cubed and you use synthetic division once and go to x squared, then you don't need synthetic division anymore. You can just factor it the old-fashioned way. And that'll give you your last 2 factors. So like I said, if you look at steps 1, 2, and 3, everything in there is something we've done over the past week or so. We're just putting it all together now. All right, so let's do this one for our example for today. We're going to factor x cubed plus 4x squared minus 11x minus 30 completely with no hints. I'm not telling you any of the factors ahead of time. So we want to do it by synthetic division. If I set up for synthetic division, I have a 1x cubed, a 4x squared, positive 4, a negative 11x, and a negative 30. But see, I didn't give you a factor, so we don't know what number to put in front. So what we need to do is use our rational zero test on the 30 to make a list of numbers that might work. So let's start with that. I'm going to go off to the side. I'm going to take my 30 and do a factor tree. 30 could be 1 times 30, of course. It does work with 2, 2 times 15. 3 works, 3 times 10. 4 does not work. 30 divided by 4 does not go evenly. 5 works, 5 times 6. And that's the end of our list because we hit the 6 and it's already on our list. So what we have is both the positive and negative version of all 8 of those numbers. It's kind of a long list. We have 1 and negative 1, 2 and negative 2, 3 and negative 3, 5 and negative 5, 6 and negative 6, 10 and negative 10, 15 and negative 15, 30 and negative 30. So there's a lot of numbers on this list here. Now the good news is, remember, we only need to find one that works, and you have to be patient on this type of question. If you're lucky, the very first one you try works and you're done in just a minute. If you're not lucky, you have to try 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 different numbers before you finally find one that works. But that's the only way to do this. So we're just gonna work through it. So I like to go in order. I usually like to just start with the smallest number and work my way up. There's no rule though. You can pick any number you want. But I'm going to start with a 1. And I'm going to do synthetic division. So when I do synthetic division, I drop down the 1, and this time to get back up, I am multiplying by 1. 1 times 1 is 1. Add is 5. 1 times 5 is 5. Add is negative 6. 1 times negative 6 is negative 6, and I'm not getting a 0 there. It actually adds up to negative 36, but I don't care. Once I realize it's not a 0, then I say the negative or the 1 did not work. Let's try the negative 1. And notice just a little thing here. I'm not changing the sign when I put the number up there. because we're doing both anyways. We're doing the positive and negative, so it doesn't matter. Just put the number up there, it'll be fine. All right, so let's erase our work. None of that worked. And let's try the negative one. Like I said, for me, I like to just go in order. So we drop the 1 down. This time we're multiplying by negative 1. Negative 1 times 1 is negative 1. Add, you get 3. Negative 1 times 3 is negative 3. Add, you get negative 14. Negative 1 times negative 14 is positive 14. Add, and you don't get 0. So we're going to throw the negative 1 out and try again. And remember, you guys have to be very patient on this. Sometimes, if you're lucky, you'll get it early. Other times, if you're unlucky, it'll take a little while. Let's try the 2. We drop down our 1 and we multiply. 1 times 2 is 2. Add, 4 plus 2 is 6. Multiply, 2 times 6 is 12. Add is positive 1. 2 times 1 is 2. Definitely doesn't add up to 0. Throw out the negative 2. Erase and try again. There definitely is some guess and check work involved in this one, so just be patient, keep trying. Let's try the negative 2 and see what happens. Drop down our 1, multiply. Negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. Add, you get positive 2. Multiply, negative 2 times 2 is negative 4. Add, you get negative 15. Multiply, negative 2 times negative 15 is positive 30, and that worked. Negative 30 plus 30 is 0. So the negative 2 works, and now I can stop. I don't have to keep going with synthetic division. I don't have to try the 3 and the negative 3 and the 5 and the negative 5 and the 6. We don't have to go all the way through the list. All you have to do is find one that works. Because remember, we're going back to last week's lesson. In synthetic division, if you're starting with x cubed and you factor out one number, what's left over is x squared. And then x, and then the constant term. The remainder is 0, so we'll throw it out. Now the other thing, before we finish this question, the other thing I want to mention here, once you figure out the number that works, we factored out a negative 2. The negative 2 worked. We're going to change the sign. Just like when you're doing synthetic division and you have a factor, you change the sign to put the number in. Well, to take it back, you change the sign back. So if the negative 2 works, what it means is the factor that I divided out is x plus 2. That's when you change the sign on this problem. After you find the number that works, change the sign, put it after an x, and that gives you your factor. Now right here, I have 1x squared, or we'll just call it x squared. I have plus 2x, positive 2x, and I have a minus 15. Now to finish the question, we already know that x plus 2 is one of our factors. To finish the question, we're going to factor that quadratic using our other method, using our trying to find two numbers that multiply to negative 15 and add to positive 2. So a negative 15. Now this time we're going to do a factor tree, and this is the one, it's kind of different. The factor tree in yellow, we said we're going to do all the pluses and minuses anyway, so don't even worry about them. This factor tree, you do have to worry about the pluses and minuses, this type of factoring. So negative 15 could be positive 1 times negative 15, or negative 1 times positive 15. And 3 and 5 is the only other ones. Positive 3 times negative 5, negative 3 times positive 5. Now since we're looking for the two that add up to positive 2, it's going to be those last two there. So I'm going to put a minus 3 on one of my factors and a plus 5 on the other. Now your final answer to the question is all three of those factors put together. You can put them in any order. We have an x minus 3, we have an x plus 5, and up here we have that x plus 2. That is your final answer, and that's what we've been working towards. That's how you factor a third-degree polynomial if you don't have any hints ahead of time. If you look back at the original question, I just said factor this polynomial, period. And you had to do some work to do that. You had to do the rational zero test to figure out some numbers that you can try in synthetic division. Then you had to do some guess and check on synthetic division to find one that actually worked. Then, after you find one that actually works, you have to do the other type of factoring. And your final answer is all three of those factors put together.